Hi, I'm Ailey for Design Break, and today I'm going to break down the branding journey into 6 steps. When you're just starting out in business or you've got a business idea, there's a lot to think about, and branding is one of those things that you know is really important, but you might not know where to start with it. Having a great brand can be pivotal to your business's success, especially in the early stages, and it's one of those things it's good to get right straight away. So I've broken down the branding journey process from your initial idea, your business idea, to brand naming, all the way to maintaining your brand consistently once you're up and running, just to help you understand the process and not feel so overwhelmed with where to start with your branding and who you might need to help and hire along the way to get your brand up and running. So these steps are broken down. So there will be a lot of different business activities out with these steps. These steps are just talking about the branding side of your business and sort of where that comes in your overall business journey as well. So step 1 is just your idea conception. So this is where you have your business idea and you're kind of just working out what it's going to look like and what the business is going to look like. There's not really too much to do with the actual brand at this stage. You're probably just generating a lot of ideas and you want to do like market research, idea validation, these kinds of activities, and you probably want to work with maybe your local startup incubator or business advisor just to try and get the right steps in place. You're probably starting to get a lot of ideas about your brand, but you're not quite sure where to take them. So this is probably one of the most exciting, but also can be one of the most overwhelming stages because you have so many ideas, but you're maybe not quite sure how to make sense of them yet. And step 2 is brand naming. So once you've validated your idea and you've got your business plan in place and you're starting to move through those steps, you want to start off with a really good brand name, especially if you're going to be registering your name and your domain and different things like that. I've actually done a PDF on brand naming that helps you generate a really good brand name that should suit your business goals and your brand identity. So there'll be a link for that down below. With the brand naming, creative agencies or naming agencies can help you with this if you're not comfortable doing it yourself, or if you've got a little bit of extra budget and you want to get that help in there, but it is absolutely something you can do yourself. Step 3 is understanding and defining your brand. I should probably start off by saying here that branding isn't exclusively to do with the visual identity of your brand. There are a few different parts to branding. A lot of the time people can see a logo and just think of the brand as a logo, but it's not really that. There's a lot of different things. There's a lot of different parts to your brand, and the visual identity is only a really small part of that. The experience that you create for your customers, the way you make them feel, your communication, and all these other aspects all go into your brand identity. So it's not exclusively the visuals. Okay, so back to step 3, understanding and defining your brand. So this is not talking about the visual identity of your brand. This is kind of understanding the core values and sort of what your brand stands for. So this is what's called the brand strategy. So you really want to understand and get clear in your head who your customers are, what you stand for, what your values are. I've linked some resources down below to help you work out your brand strategy, which you can start to do yourself, or if you want to hire someone in, creative agencies, brand strategists, brand designers can all help you at this stage. But if you just search brand strategy, there will be a lot of resources that can help you start to work this out. Step 4 is the visual design, and this is what a lot of people really connect with their branding. And it's really important that visual design comes after the strategy. So the visuals and your logo and everything that goes along with that side of your branding really need to be informed by the strategy and the sort of the core values of your brand. The brand strategy is kind of where you really understand the personality of your brand, and then that can then go ahead and inform the visuals. So you probably want to work quite closely with a creative agency or a designer, depending on your budget, and make sure they really understand the values. You maybe worked with a creative agency or a brand strategist who's then going to also do the visuals of your brand, but it's really important that they understand what you're trying to get across here with the visuals as they design your logo and the whole brand identity system. Okay, step 5 is the design implementation. So sometimes this is done alongside the brand identity design, but it's really just everything else that goes along with your actual visual identity. So like your website, your packaging design, if you've got products, your social media assets, your signage or your physical location, and just kind of everything that needs designed visually to go alongside your brand. You might be working with a designer that helped you design your visual identity, or a creative agency, and then you've got web designers, marketers. One thing to note here that consistency is really important. So making sure that your brand is consistent across all of the different platforms that you're going to be appearing on. So you don't want to have like a menu design that has one feel to it, and then your website design looks completely different. So then if a customer is checking out your website, they get one feeling, and then when they come into your restaurant, your menus may be completely, and your whole vibe there is completely different, and it's not really a cohesive experience for the customer. You want everything to be tied in and kind of meld together quite well. Okay, and step 6 is just with your brand live and sort of out in the world, is just kind of maintaining that consistency there. So the most important people here are you and your team. So you need to make sure everyone who is sort of promoting your brand is on board and they really understand what your brand stands for and the brand values, and they're actively working to maintain that brand consistency, making sure the experience that your customers have always lives up to what they kind of expect with your brand. But by this point, you might also have a creative partner or a creative agency that you've worked with, and you maybe continue to work with them on your design assets for the visual side of your branding. So I've highlighted that maintaining consistency is really important, and that's really important from like an experience point of view, to make sure your customers are having the experience they expect from your brand. But it's also important to remember not to get stuck in your ways and be able to be flexible with your brand. So it's not all black and white. Your brand is kind of like a personality once you've built it up and understand it. So you don't really need to overcomplicate it and have like a set of rules that you stick by word for word. Try and be flexible with it and let it change and evolve over time as your company grows and changes. That was just a breakdown of the branding journey from your initial idea to maintaining your brand once you've built it. So just to recap, you've got idea conception, brand naming, understanding and defining your brand, the visual design of your brand identity, design implementation, and then maintaining brand consistency going forward. I hope that helped, and check out the resources that I've linked down below if you need help with your branding journey. And if there's anything else to do with branding you want me to cover in future, just let me know in the comments. See you next time. Bye.